to knowing because you're dealing with consciousness that knows. The reason that you hear silence when you go into higher consciousness is because higher consciousness knows. It doesn't have to work it out through constant chatter. I wonder if it's this, I wonder if it's that. It knows. And then when you come back into body consciousness, that's what the world does. It pulls you in, absolutely.
But from a genetic expression, they now know that it's not what you call reincarnation. It is all those millions of people that came before you, all that genetic information passed on. We really are using 100% of the brain, not 10% like the scientists say. It's just that we normally are only consciously using 10%. There is so much more. It is a species knowledge and a species memory that wants to go to the stars.
I tell you what they've done, and there's no better symbol of what they've done to the human computer than China. If you go on the internet in China, there's vast amounts of the internet you cannot access because it's firewalled off. That's what they've done. And as we open the firewalls, as consciousness intervenes, then we start to see things.
You're not talking about the internet for folks that just tuned in. You're saying the consciousness is like a Chinese internet where 90% of it is walled off, curtailed, surveilled. And people through the panopticon self-surveil and restrict themselves in China.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the body computer, even though it's just a vehicle, it's a fantastic vehicle, and it has potentially the ability to decode far more than it does. But what they've done, and I think there's been genetic intervention through the thousands of years and many other things, they have firewalled off. And this is an interesting point, given what we've been talking about. What does a hypnotist do? I've seen a hypnotist say to someone, okay, I'm going to ask you your name, and you're not going to be able to know it. You're not going to be able to know your name. And he says the key word, and he asks them their name. They can't remember their name because he's firewalled off that ability to decode their name. So when you think what they're doing in China with the, if you like, the World Wide Web Internet, where Chinese people can't access vast chunks of it because they don't want, the Chinese authorities don't want the people to see what exists there in terms of information, the elite, the shadow people that understand this reality, they have done the same. They have firewalled off the human-computer system as through the various techniques they use, so we don't decode vast amounts of reality, even within this reality. That
okay, David, we're back. We're back live. Here we go. All right. The time's almost up with David Icke. I might be able to twist his arm for 10 minutes more into overdrive today, but I doubt it. There's so much he wants to talk about. I want to know about why the elite, who are aware of all of this, like to get into the darkness, and why they revel in that and some of the rituals they do. I mean, now Macy's has come out with 666 Knights of Hell Bohemian Grove wear. It says Bohemian Grove on it. It's using official Bohemian Grove logos, Macy's nationwide. It's up on Infowars.com. I want to get into that, and then anything else you want to cover, David, and then take a few phone calls at 1-800-259-9231. But everything you say makes all these other ideas and thoughts I've already had, but at a deeper level, start exploding. So that's why I'm jumping in. But I want you to have a chance to really run. So I'm just going to literally turn my mic off and step back. We're going to skip this next break for the internet. For everybody else, we'll be right back. And just, you've got the floor, run with it.
Well, first of all, in terms of where we're going with this, we need to get a blank sheet of paper. And I'm not talking as some guru who's on a mountain and telling you how to do it. I'm telling you what happened to me over the last 20 years. And when you, and it's a simple thing, Alex, but my goodness me, is it powerful in how it pans out and plays out in changes in your life and everything. Once you look in the mirror and you identify what you are looking at with the vehicle that's allowing you to experience this frequency range we call the world, and you move your sense of identity to I am infinite consciousness, I am all that is, has been, and ever will be. Not that time exists outside of this reality. It's another figment of our manipulated imagination and programming. Once you move your sense of identity out to that level of self, everything changes. I mean, fearful of what some government's going to do, fearful of the consequences of taking action in pursuit of freedom. I mean, that level of consciousness, which is a level of love which is beyond our comprehension. It's not I love you, darling, saw you down the disco. That level of love is an attraction. Actually, it can be manipulated chemically if you stimulate certain chemicals in the brain. That's attraction. I was in a half kind of wake state, waking up the other day, and going around my head was this statement: love is not what you are in, I'm in love with you. Love is what you are. And at that level of love, the true definition of love, not attraction, but love for all, love for self, it has no fear. It only does not what it believes to be right, it does what it knows to be right. And it chooses freedom. And freedom and love do not do consequences. There's no mental gymnastics, oh, I want freedom, but what are the consequences for me of going down there? Freedom doesn't do consequences, love doesn't do consequences, it does what it believes to be right. And I tell you what, when you get to this level of consciousness, Alex, something that would change this world overnight because of all that would come from it, if people started making decisions not based on what is right for me in the circumstances before me, and that turns out often not to be right for you anyway, but what is right, end of story, in the circumstances that I face. What is right, what is just, what is fair, what do I need to do to pursue that version of what is right? And if we did that, there'd be no hunger, there'd be no conflict, there'd be no child abuse, there'd be no environmental abuse, there'd be none of this stuff. We'd be in a completely different level of consciousness, and therefore we'd be in a completely different level of experiences of this world. As Albert Einstein said, you cannot solve problems with the same level of consciousness that created them. And because we've got caught in body consciousness and not the high soul consciousness, if you like, that we really are, therefore we bring a political party in with a certain level of consciousness, and we replace it with another with the same level of consciousness. We interact with the world with the same level of consciousness, and then we wonder why the world never changes for the better, because the same level of consciousness that is creating the problems then returns to create more problems. We have to move into an expanded level of awareness of who we are, the nature of reality, the illusory nature of reality that we live in, and then we can have a paradise here, because illusions only control you when you think they're real, and that's the key to this conspiracy. It's been persuading people that this illusion that we're interacting with and we can have great fun and joy with is actually real, and once you buy that one, you're in body consciousness, and you're in the slammer. And we're at a time now with this awakening when we can open the door
David Icke,
and transform this world.
Got a break. Stay there, David Icke. We'll talk to you during the break. David, I don't want to turn this into a massive extravaganza.
No, but I tell you, you want to go into the dark stuff, I'll tell you about that.
Well, the thing is, I know that you've got a lot of things to do, but I would love, and I promise you we would end it then and also give you a break later. What if we did 20 minutes into the next hour? The show normally ends in 30. But what if we did another, 40, 50 minutes total, 15, 20 minutes into the next hour, because then there'd be no breaks, and it would be internet only, but still massive, so that we would have plenty of time to really let you flesh out your ideas and then take some phone calls and, talk about solutions. Or do you want to end this in T-minus 30 minutes?
I tell him my problem. I'd love to do it, Alex, but I've got to be in Nevada City in the time it takes from 1 o'clock to get there. That's my problem.
What time do you have to be in Nevada City?
I've got to be in Nevada City by just before 2 o'clock. I'm meeting a guy, funnily enough, who is a doctor who has understood that the body's a hologram, and there's great information waiting for me there.
Well, I hope you'll come back soon and tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Well, then we'll talk a little bit more and then jam in some phone calls before you leave us, and I appreciate you giving us the 2 hours.
No problem. If you want to get into the dark stuff and the ritual, I talk about that because it so relates to what we.
Well, I wanted to talk about the different levels of consciousness, because you talk about doing what is right. When I'm calm, when I'm centered, again, I'm not worried about them killing me. I realize fighting them and standing up to them, and my instinct or my guts, my spirit tells me, even let them kill me. Because, that will only expose them greater, and that But then I hear a beeping going on. John, do you know what's going on there?
I don't hear anything.
Okay, it just went away. We got it here on the network side. David, you still there?
Yes, mate.
But then when I get back into battle mode, the daily mode, which is what I have to shift into to be able to operate.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not as worried. I mean, I'm still a little bit worried about it. You know, not. I'm just not completely at peace. And then you talk about, you know, consciousness. The problem is the corrupt elite system is like a cancer.
Exactly.
And so no matter how many of us are good and sweet and loving and do the right thing, which I try to do every day, we still have to stamp out and stand up against corrupt people in our lives, or they will chew us to pieces. So I want you to explain. I'm not saying lie down and say walk all over me. I'm saying the exact opposite.